I wonder, we were talking yesterday about how we looked at the team at this point, um, and I think you and I have some different opinions. I'm always a pessimist, um, and you're optimistic as can be, and that's great. And it's only been 4 games, right?
That's right.
But if we I wanted to take a look at our record versus Seattle, and I did that yesterday. So we've played Seattle 46 times, and Seattle is 19 and 17 against us. So we're 12 games under 500 playing Seattle lifetime, ever since Seattle became a team.
Mm-hmm.
We, but let's look at the past decade. So from 2011 to 2021, with the exception of the game that's coming up, that's 22 games. Our record in those 22 games are 6-16. So, we were talking yesterday, and I said, it seems like every time we play them, we lose. Well, the reason it seems that way is because every time we play them, we lose. So, so I think there's been a couple things if we look at, particularly over the last decade, when the Niners were really trying to put together a Super Bowl team and got there twice. But if you look at it over history, I think Seattle's had a better front office. I think they definitely have better coaching. We got outcoached badly this weekend. Um, I think they have better ownership, and they definitely have a better stadium. They have a stadium that they're almost impossible to beat Seattle if you're an opposing team. So I just wanted to throw that out there for folks that might be wondering why it seems like we lose every time we play them, and it's because we do. So, any thoughts on that, Gary?
Well, I look back to 2018, and yeah, we are behind. We only won 2 out of the and lost 5, and 1 loss was in overtime, but almost all of them were close games.
Yeah,
But we did beat them in Seattle.
we did. Yes, we did. I mean, that's how we got into the Super Bowl in 2019, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that was a huge win, but we just don't seem to have those very often. And I think if we talk about last week's game, I think some of it jumps out. So you're very optimistic about where the 49ers are at right now. Would you like to talk about your optimism, and then I'll talk a little bit about.
Well, I thought there was an awful lot of very good things that I saw, and I went back and looked at the game twice,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that offense has got some hitches. Our offense has some hitches, but a lot of the stuff we're doing is good. I watched Brunskill really close, and he had a couple of mess ups, but I think he had fewer mess ups than Mac.
Oh man, you keep going, and I'll say Brunskill till what I'm going to say. Go ahead.
But yeah, after we talked about that, I went and I really spent a lot of time watching him.
Oh, okay.
And I focused on him on that, and I thought, because he did do a couple of screw ups. I mean, there was a couple of times he was out of position. He got blown back into the quarterback only one time.
Yeah. Didn't he, wasn't he out of position for a wide open sack, though? A right up the gut sack? where they went on the week.
Brunskill's the right guard.
I know, but they went in, so that's a strong side, right? And they just sent one of their safeties, and the guy just blew right by him.
Well, they sent him late, and can you blame that on him, or you want to blame it on that?
No, because he's already engaged. Right?
He was already with another guy.
Yeah.
And they have that zone blocking. They don't take straight up and hold it. They do a zone block.
I know. I hate it.
So there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. What else do you see?
The guy, the offensive lineman I thought had the worst game was Tomlinson.
Oh, interesting. What did you see when you're rewatching?
He seemed to be out of position quite often. He lost his man quite often. And, that was a lot of that's right up the gut too, that. And watching that offensive line, that's what came to me was that, the weak spot on that game. I give it to Tomlinson as the worst offensive lineman that day.
Interesting.
Typically, that's not typical of him.
No.
And I was very impressed of when I think it was Moore came in to take Trent's place. And I thought, oh no, we're in trouble now. But he did a very good job.
He did. I was really surprised. You're right. He had a great game.
But I'll still say that Lance isn't ready.
No, he's not.
He's got some ways to go. He shows an awful lot of really good stuff.
Oh yeah.
But his reads are terrible. And a lot of people are saying, well, we need him to get experience. Well, the reads don't really come from experience.
No.
They come from watching how it's done and then going out and trying it. There's a guy that does a YouTube breakdown, Baldy's breakdown. And he shows some of that stuff. I've been watching, and Lance would actually reverse the way he's supposed to do his checkdowns.
Really? Can you explain that, Gary? Because I'm not sure.
Well, depending on the routes the runners are, your checkdown starts on your right side, boom,
right.
2, 3, 4.
Right.
Or it should go the other way, or it should start in the middle, go one way, and then have to swing back. But typically, it's a sweeping motion when you're checkdowns. If it's not, then you're like this. But that doesn't mean when you see something, you can't shoulder the guys out of the way.
Right.
But Lance had his biggest problem, his checkdowns, is he's watching the receivers. Right. And that's not what you're supposed to watch.
No, you don't want to telegraph.
Your checkdowns is you're watching the defensive backs. But not saying that Lance isn't going to be a great quarterback. And I wore a jersey. I actually wore this for Stanford.
For Stanford
Steve. Not only does he love Stanford, but he loves black jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, but I wore this thinking that, Lance really has a chance to be a combination of 8 and 16.
You mean a Kyle Murray kind of guy?
Well, I think more along the lines of our nemesis quarterback,
Russell Wilson.
On that, but he's big. So I think he's going to be a combination if he can get into that field of Young and Montana. And man, would that be a quarterback?
Oh boy. Yeah, if he could become a Young again, I mean, that would be great, but But boy, oh boy.
I don't see it happening this year.
Oh, no.
It'd be really nice if Jimmy can come back and Lance gets a chance to actually watch some more of that stuff, because he is progressing.
Yeah.
But he never looked really good. He did some really good things, but in my book, he never looked really good.
He was totally caught off guard, I think, by having to go in there. And he wasn't prepared.
And if it wasn't for Debo, we'd be in big hurt.
Oh boy, that's for sure. Another fantastic game. I think he still leads the league in receptions.
Oh, he has to with the numbers he's getting every week.
Yeah, he's putting up huge numbers. And he's making the really hard catches, you know. I mean, it's not like he's
catching bullets, especially with Lance's.
He's catching bullets behind him.
Yeah.
And you know, and those back shoulder receptions are just beautiful to watch with that guy. And when Garoppolo can get on his back shoulder, it's impossible to defend that pass.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree. I'm loving Debo Samuels, that's for sure.
And our it kind of looked like our receivers, our wide receivers, were just out of sorts. They got off on the wrong foot and could never get back in sync.
Yep. Agreed.
But we lost.
We did. What do you think about the defense?
500. You know, there's been teams make the playoffs with a 500. In fact, there was a couple of times under 500.
The New York Giants, if you remember, beat us in the NFC Championship game. I think it was 2010, and went on to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And they were a 500 team. And they beat us at Candlestick on a muffed punt. Do you remember that game? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that was some pretty painful football to watch right there. But yeah, you're right. And it's early and we're not out of this thing, but I certainly have some areas that I'd like.
I thought our defensive backs played a great game.
You thought the cornerbacks played well?
Yes.
Why?
They let a couple of them go, but I mean, when Wilson's running around and he's throwing it after 12 seconds, how long are you supposed to cover a guy?
Yeah, right. Yeah, if there's no defensive pressure up front, and when you rush four guys every single down,
we get sent more than that occasionally.
Yeah,
but that's when Russell would dump it off over the middle.
Right. Yeah, and we did play potentially the best quarterback in the game right now. And we just couldn't stop him. In the first quarter, it looked like we kind of had his number. I mean, we got a fumble, forced a fumble, and sacked him twice. So it looked like we were starting off strong, and then we just fell off from there. And it just looked lazy. Lazy, you know, they just looked lazy. It just looked like they took the game off or something. I don't know. What else do you think about the defense, Gary? How about the defensive line?
Well, I thought the defensive line did okay. I'd like to see more penetration on the passes. They did a pretty good job of keeping him in the pocket for the most part. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, because he's notorious for being able to just get out of the pocket and run around and then find his guys. The thing I don't get about him is that he'll be running with his back to the field and turn around and throw the pass.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. that's just not fair to the defense.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I thought overall I would give us a C plus,
C plus.
and probably both offense and defense. We're a little bit better than average, and we got some A's. We got some A pluses, but we got some F's and some D's.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
Any thoughts on special teams, Gary? To me, that was a big fat old F.
Yeah, I have to agree. There was a couple of good things, but I'll give them an F plus, D minus, F plus, D minus.
Okay, so you're
I
gonna
think
pass
that's
them?
our weak point, but it didn't really lose us the game.
I don't know
It
about
helped.
that. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, Cannon lost that fumble on the kickoff, and that right there, 2 plays later, Seattle scores.
Yeah.
I mean, we gave them the ball inside the 20.
But are you going to blame that on the entire special team? Or are you just going to blame that on Cannon?
Well, I'm going to blame it on Cannon. I mean, and he made a couple of boneheaded plays.
Yes, he did. So
So
will he be playing? Will he even be on the team?
nah, I think the best he can do after this weekend is go back to the practice squad, and I can't see somebody picking him up playing as poorly as he played in the last game. And we might just cut him loose. I think we really like our practice squad, and we got guys that have come up so far this year from practice squad and done well. So at the beginning of the season, when we were talking about the squad, and I looked at who they signed for the practice squad and looked into those guys a little bit, there's some talent, which is great. So
I'd like to see him bring Benjamin up and have him return kickoffs.
that would work. That would work.
He,
You notice that at I think the last kickoff or the last punt, I don't remember which one it was, but Deebo Samuels was back.
it was kickoff.
It was a kickoff. Okay. And so they made the decision, to do something special to try to get back in the game. But boy, I don't want to see that guy playing special teams.
No.
I mean,
But that was a last ditch effort. I mean,
yeah.
and in a case like that, yeah. I mean, why not? Because
Yeah, sure.
You couldn't hold him down. You're gonna have to sit on him.
Yep.
Have to
Yep.
have to get Kinlaw to sit on him if he
Yep.
on a situation like that to keep him out.
He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's smart. He's the whole package. And if he got hurt, oh boy, I think we'd really, really hurt. I mean, if he got hurt, I think Ayuk would become the number 1 wide receiver. And I don't think he's even come close to proving that he could handle that load,
Well, he did last year. He really did.
Did he?
I mean, not quite to the yardage that Debo's getting now, but he had an incredible year last year.
He did have a good year last year, and he certainly earned his position that he's in this year. And they stuck him in the slot a lot this game as well, which I like.
Yeah.
But I think he did really well last year because we had 21 injuries. So he got a lot of chances. And I think as those chances increased, he got better and better and better.
Well, isn't that what's happening to Debo?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and the thing about Ayuk is that he kind of reminds me of a quicker, bigger KB.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got those long arms and he'll snatch that ball out of the air like KB would do.
Yeah. And he's longer, and I think he's faster than game.
Yeah. Well, you know, his wingspan is that of a guy 6'5".
Oh, guy could play in the NBA.
Yeah, probably could.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, let me talk about a couple of things that I saw, Gary, that make me concerned. I guess at this point in the season, after 4 games, I'm not gonna say, we're a horrible team. I think our expectations going into this season was that we built a team for a championship. Um, and I think a few things have to change if that's the case. Um, right now, we're going to be stuck with Trey Lance, and I know that they're saying that Jimmy is feeling better. He's certainly better on Monday than he was when he got hurt on Sunday. But after that game in his presser, when he was in the locker room and the press was in there, I mean, the guy teared up. He knew something was wrong, and I think that if he has even the slightest injury going into this weekend, I think they start Trey Lance. I don't think it's worth, especially against the Cardinals, who I think are the best team in the division. I think they need to sit him and let him heal up, and let Trey Lance go out there and play against the guy in Murray who is very, very similar guy, built similarly, but having a fantastic season. I mean, the guy is the 9th quarterback in the league right now, and that's probably because their rushing game is number 1. So we have a big problem, but let me continue on what I saw this weekend. I thought the running backs got an A. I didn't think the offensive line did very well at all, and I think the running backs did a really good job of moving around when they were in the middle, of finding those little gaps and getting through. I think we had a total of about 154 yards, and that's a pretty good game. So I think the running game was really good, and I think the running game opened up the passing game. We just couldn't get them to the guys. We were talking about Garoppolo. When he opened the game, he went 6 for 6.
Yep.
And he looked like he was on fire. The Seattle defensive line, which is ranked 26th in the league, looked like a line that was ranked 26th in the league. And at least for that first quarter, Niners really looked like they were clicking. I thought, wow, okay, this is good. But Jimmy got hurt and Trey Lance came in, and like you said, it's just a matter of learning the NFL game. It's so much faster and so much different than college football. I also gave the wide receivers an A as well, and I gave Debo a big old fat A plus. I mean, the guy had 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, it's every weekend now. This guy's just tearing up everybody he plays. I mean, it's really, really promising. I looked at the O line as well, and I haven't gone back and looked at the game, Gary. So I haven't really focused on the offensive line yet. But I thought Brunskill got burned a lot, but that was just my impression watching the game. And the other impression I had was the same as you, is that when Trent Williams went down, the guy that took his place, I don't remember his name, but did a really good job, and the offensive line held up. I thought the corners were really bad. If you look at the blown coverage by the cornerbacks, it was just one thing after another, and they've been bad to me, Gary, the whole season. I mean, they've given up they've had 8 pass interference calls so far this season, and I know that some of those were questionable, especially against Seattle yesterday. There was one pass interference call that definitely wasn't. But I thought the other two, there was 3 of them. I thought the other 2 were legitimate pass interference calls. And of the 8 that we've got so far in 4 games, so that's 2 a game, which is horrible. I think it's just blown coverage, and I think we've got injuries in the secondary, but I think that I think we need to do some real work there. Special teams, we know what Cannon did. That kind of gives the whole, I don't know, the whole squad a shadow and a low grade. And then, we have to go with our punter as our kicker. And it just didn't work. Obviously the guy was caught off guard. And nobody expected for us to be in that position when we didn't have a field goal or a point after kicker, and we lost 4 points as a result. So that was pretty painful. That's about all I have. I think the GOAT of the game was clearly Cannon. And I thought the player of the game was certainly Debo. I did like Ross Dwelly. He had that nifty touchdown reception. And that was really nice because Kittle, I don't know. Kittle only had 4 receptions. I don't know what was going on there. I don't know if the guy's banged up. He hides it. And he wasn't out there as often. They didn't engage him in the blocking game as much as he usually is. But having a second stringer like Willie, I like that guy. I think he's good. I think he's got good hands. I think he runs good routes. And again,
he impressed me at the game too. I've never been a Dwelly fan, but that one, the way he used his body to block out and he was actually, that was actually pass interference. Should have called it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was on his back, but he closed the gate.
He did.
The DB had no shot at getting to the ball.
He was locking up the outside. He was locking up, his end of the line when he was in the blocking.
And George was blocking on our running touchdowns.
Yeah.
He was in there taking his guy out of the end zone just about.
Yeah.
But he was hurt.
He was.
You could tell.
Yeah. I think that's why they avoided, throwing passes his way, because he's such a maniac when he makes a catch.
Well, yeah, but also he takes 2 or 3 guys that.
Right.
I mean, who are you going to throw to? The guy that has no one around him, or the guy that's got 3 guys around him?
Right.
And so, that's doing his job. I mean, you don't have to be catching the ball. If you're taking enough guys away from the other guys, it's easier for them to catch it.
Yeah, you're right. He makes the whole offense better. I just thought this weekend it was a little unusual. It was a little quiet for him. And he was definitely banged up. I mean, there's no question about it. He limped off the field holding that hammy a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, I hope they give him a lot of rest this week. That guy doesn't need to practice this week to be an integral part of the game plan next week. He knows the playbook sideways and backwards. So I say sit him the whole week. Let the guy rest up.
Well, I think it's time we close the book on this game with the Seahawks. Learn from it and let it go and move on.
I agree 100%. And let's go beat them in Seattle.
Yeah.
It would be really great to do that. So,
Let's shut down the crowd.
yeah. If that's even possible. That stadium was built perfect. And if you've ever been inside that stadium, and I went there one time and saw the Rams, that place is deafening. I mean, your ears hurt after the game. And we could never do that at Levi. I thought we got pretty loud at Levi this weekend. Good for the faithful. Thank you. Because you could see Wilson having to run up and down the line, then talk to his backfield. So he was getting some of the noise. But I think you're right. Time to shut it down and look forward. So looking forward.
You do know that without a past, you have no future. So that's the good thing about this game.
I do know that.
It's in the past.
Yep. No, I learned that from you, Gary.